Finance meeting to order. Roll call, Ms. Cindy.
Ms. Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Tobin?
Here.
The first item on the agenda is new business, just to review the year actual budget comparison report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The first item is our year-to-date actual budget comparison report. And you can see that on the report, we are adjusting our revenues. We are anticipating our MFP funding to increase for 385 additional students above the budget enrollment amount. That is $2.3 million. And we also are anticipating our expenditures to increase, adjusted to accommodate the additional enrollment of about $1.3 million. So there's a net change in the fund balance on our report, about $710,000 surplus instead of a $186,000 deficit. So right now we're anticipating our general fund budget to be a surplus and not a deficit as we originally proposed. Just for information purposes, no actions needed.
That's always good.
Yeah, it's always good to have extra money.
All right. Anything else on we don't have anything else on the agenda?
I do have another item, item C.
Hold on, I have a question
Okay.
on that. Mr. Snow, but the, we're still going to be at that $700,000 surplus, even though we're increasing our salaries by $1 million, correct?
Correct.
And so how much was the,
$2.3 million additional for the additional students from the MFP.
and that's all from the additional students?
Correct.
Okay. When are we looking at doing a budget revision?
We're working on one now, and our accounting department's putting together. I anticipate we'll come, I had the timeline on my desk. I think we'll come to the Finance Committee in April to be approved by the full board at the second meeting in April.
Okay. That's it, that's all. Okay.
That's it. All right, consider to approval to enter into contract with Trinity Capital Resources LLC to serve as the municipal advisor for possible $10 million bond funding finance for facilities improvement projects.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We are recommending that we enter into a contract with Trinity Capital Resources as a municipal advisor for our Phase 1 funding projects. We anticipate we'll borrow roughly $10 million in bond funds for that Phase 1, and we took out a email RFP pretty much and got responses from 3 of the 4 vendors that we polled. A team of us in accounting did a very similar review as we would for external auditors, and the scorecard is attached to the agenda. The individual vendor that we're recommending came, we did their background, they were certified, they had experience, we called their references, the references were all highly recommended, and their price was the lowest price quoted.
Any questions?
Yeah, questions. First, let's start with the RFP. How did we go about sending the RFP out?
We sent an email to vendors.
And where did we get the RFP from?
The RFP was very simple. It was an email response from me to 4 municipal advisors and asked them to give me a proposal for doing a bond funding for $10 million.
You're familiar with the GFOA?
The process we followed was recommended by the GFOA, yes.
It was?
Yeah, the process of evaluating and scoring was recommended by the GFOA.
But the actual RFP?
The RFP was
If you pull up, I pulled up today, they have a whole 5 pages of what to put in the RFP and selecting and managing a municipal advisor. I mean, and I know, and I haven't talked to Jim Ryan about this, but I know that he was upset, and we were in that same email exchange with him saying that it was not a traditional RFP for municipal advisors, and there was things left out that should not have been
The RFP process was an inquiry for information.
Right.
Mr. Ryan's email was more threatening than anything else, but said he would submit a proposal had we done it this way and got prior board approval and followed a process. The process of evaluating the RFPs was recommended and followed by the GFOA. And you can see on the scorecard that we submitted, we looked at the requirements of the vendor, and we had a scorecard on their technical qualifications, and then we did a scorecard on the price that was provided.
Right. We were in several seminars this weekend, and one of the ones was on bonding. The gentleman that put it on was Mike Busada. I spoke to him today because I couldn't get a chance yesterday after the meeting, but I was asking him about the steps of selecting a municipal advisor, and that's the first thing he said was, well, first thing you do is you go to the GFOA, and that's why I knew about it. He said, go to the GFOA website, look at, they have a RFP there, a sample that has all the criteria, and he said, follow that steps and that will put you in the right direction. He said, or you end up like Caddo Parish that went with the lowest price because the bonding attorney had picked it, which is what the class was about. This guy telling us over and over and over again, not let the bonding attorney direct the school system, that the school board itself should be the ones directing the RFP process to the municipal advisor. So I asked Ms. Stidley today to get me the number of Caddo Parish, so I talked to that superintendent, and he just reaffirmed that, yes, they did go with the lowest price. After a year of going through the process, now they're going back through the process of going through the RFP according to what the GFOA is saying so that they can go back and get, because it's just like an attorney. You know, we could have found a cheaper attorney to work on our DSEC case. But
Mr. Toller,
would we
it's
have
not
gotten-
like an attorney. I
Okay,
mean,
well,
the
it's
process
still-
for the municipal advisor is very standard. It's filling out forms and going through a process.
Okay, well,
The individual that we're recommending is experienced. I've called 4 different school boards that use this individual. They recommend him highly.
Right.
They said he did good work, he was responsive to their needs, and he was very effective and efficient. So,
Yeah, and I spoke to him today, and he seemed like he was very quick to answer my question today and even respond back with other information, so I was impressed with that. One question on the tally sheet on the scorecard, on item number 3, says the quality of the firm's professional personnel to be assigned to the engagement and the quality of the firm's management support personnel. How many employees does he have?
He's a single sole proprietor, and that was
Okay.
one of the questions we asked the vendors, because that was my biggest single concern. Would he be able to respond to our needs? And every one of my counterparts said he would,
Okay, so
and he has.
under Public Financial Management Incorporated, if I looked at the right one, they have 35 offices across the nation.
I'm sorry.
The one next to it, the column, the Public Financial Management Incorporated,
Yes,
35 offices. So how did he score higher on personnel than they would have scored? You see what I mean? That's,
yeah, well, it's on a team response. Now, I don't have the total scores, or maybe I do, on the individuals that were on the team. I sure do. And each individual scored per how they felt evaluating the proposals. The
but you
individuals
see,
were...
you see my question on that. I mean, we're giving one guy a higher score for one employee, a one-stop shop, than a firm that's got 35 companies. I have no idea who that firm is, but 35 different offices, and he's scoring higher on personnel.
Well, it may have been that the proposal was more detailed and explained more of his experience in working with school boards. The other proposal you're talking about may have more experience in government finances, but not school board financing.
Right.
So,
What about insurance? Was that on the RFP?
yes,
And he carries omissions of liability and all the different types?
yes.
He's fully covered on that, okay?
You have something, Brett?
Well, I just wanted to point out that in the past, when we've gone through the bond process, I do believe it was our practice in the past to simply take our bond attorney's recommendation on a municipal advisor, and I don't even think that issue even would come to the board previously. Is that?
But Mr. Duncan, things have changed since then. They've gotten new rules that they must follow. The bond attorney now is prohibited from giving financial advice.
and I'm only bringing that up to say that this is an extra step that we haven't done in the past.
Correct.
Whether it's because of requirements or because of an effort to make sure that we're being transparent and giving people an opportunity to bid out the process. This is an extra step that we're going through in this time. Is that true?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
And
And you said that you did check this person's references and his prior work.
Yes.
Do you recall any of the specific people that you spoke with as far as checking out whether he has done this type of work in the past and made any?
In his proposal, he has done work for St. Martin Parish. I talked to Casey Broussard, the CFO. He did work for Assumption Parish. I talked to Anya Randall, the CFO. He did work for St. James Parish. I talked to Jim Mitchell, the CFO, and he did work for Iberville Parish. And I talked to Joanne Landry, and all four individuals recommended the work and recommended him highly.
Were they all, were they large bonds? I mean, in the
They were
neighborhood of?
all four of them were larger than our $10 million bond.
Okay. And did any of them report any sort of issues where they had to go back and redo the work, or it cost them more because they were saving money on his services?
No.
And he was how much cheaper than the other people
Well, the
that?
second vendor was Argent, and he was 85 cents a bond or $8,500. Argent was $1 a bond or $10,000, and Public Financial Management was almost $40,000. I don't recall exactly. I have it over here.
The large firm was apparently substantially more expensive.
Correct. I just don't see the exact price on the pages I'm looking through, but it was significantly more,
Okay.
to the tune of they only scored less than 9 points on that, and the price score was dictated on a prorated share of the lowest price.
And who all was on your team to help process
It was
this?
our Director of Accounting, it was our Internal Auditor, it was 2 other staff accountants, and myself, 5-member team.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Someone make a motion to accept?
I'll move to adopt the administration's recommendation.
Second?
I'm not on the committee. Jerry's on the committee. Tom, Brett. They have to vote, not us.
Mr. Chairman, you can pass the gavel if you feel you need to second the motion.
Okay, I'll second the motion. All in favor?
You want us to vote? Are we voting the,
But hold on, to do it properly, she would need to pass the gavel to me, let me do the second, and carry on with the, and my reservations are still, it's not personal. I just think, after hearing colleagues this weekend talk about the fiasco of going with a lower price, and it costing them time and money in the long run, we're talking about $10 million. That's my reservations. That's my hesitations. We go through the process and we do an RFP and we pick the same guy off doing what the government, what the state is, what the GFOA is recommending us to do. If we go with him, I'll vote for it 10 times. That's my concern. And then when I look at the scorecard and I see a discrepancy right there blaring at me, the first thing I see, that's why I'm opposed to it. But I will pass the gavel to me and I'll vote for it. I mean, I'll allow the vote.
Okay, so you seconded the second?
Yes,
She's passing it to me, so I'm asking for a second.
I'll make a second.
Second by Ms. Abrams.
Mr. Chairman, I want to respond to your comment and just about, I am a small firm. I'm a 3 or 4 man show.
Right.
And as a result of my 3 or 4 man efficient process, I am able to offer a much lower price to my clients because of my efficiency, and I will put the level of my service up against any large firm that
Absolutely.
ever competes with me. So being a large firm does not make you better. Charging more or higher rates does not make you better. And if the administration has checked this guy's references and found that he's able to be both efficient, professional, and cost-effective, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go with that recommendation. I just, which,
Well, and to answer that, I agree with that, 100%. And like I said, I spoke with the gentleman today, and he seemed like a great guy, and he was quick to respond to my question today. That's not my reservation. My reservation is, did the RFP ask what we needed to ask to find out if this is the right person to do the job? That's my question.
did we have public input before we vote? Was there anybody that turned in some public input?
When turned in, somebody requested after the meeting started.
Well, I don't think we gave instructions on requiring that it's a committee. It would be, and I don't think we have that formal of a rule for,
All right,
Good.
please, we'll allow it.
Good evening. I'm Lucius McGee. That name may ring a bell here in Tangipahoa Parish. I'm with Argent Advisors, and I'm one of the respondents to the RFP. I do serve as the municipal advisor for Caddo Parish School Board. We just sold some bonds at 2.39% for them last week, selling another $7.4 million for Red River Schools tomorrow, actually. So I do have the qualifications to do this. Tangipahoa is where my family grew up. My grandfather was a state representative down here who passed the legislation, authored the legislation for Southeastern. So Southeastern, oldest building on Southeastern campus is Lucius McGee Hall, who my father was named after, and who is my great uncle. So I have a great love for Tangipahoa Parish. I was in Baton Rouge at the GFOA conference today. Had to come over here to Ponchatoula, got the last flat of strawberries at Berrytown. So pretty excited to go home and bring those to the family. But I would respectfully ask you to consider Argent Advisors. We have been a paying agent and registrar on a number of bond issues for the state. We've done state work for the state of Louisiana, and also all the school boards around Louisiana. I think we have covered something in the neighborhood of 38 of the school boards of the, I think there are now 70 school districts in Louisiana. And we participated in over 900 municipal bond issues. In 2016 is when we began to offer municipal advisory services, because that was when the law changed, where your lawyer could no longer offer any financial advice. We think we do a good job. We buy a lot of municipal bonds, so we're in the marketplace, so we know what's going on both sides of the equation. And but the biggest thing, when we started our company in 1990, we started with about $40 million that we were responsible for in Ruston, Louisiana. And today we have right now at $26 billion that we're in charge of. I'm actually one of the founders and one of the owners. And it's been a crazy ride, but the only way that we got to where we are is because we try to sit on the same table as our client and offer services from a fiduciary capacity. As we serve as municipal advisor, we are acting as a fiduciary. And that's what we have to do for issuers when they're borrowing money. This is the taxpayers' money. This is, if you're going to offer a sales tax, this is money that you are spending on behalf of the community. So we just would like an opportunity to do that.
Thanks, Mr. Lucius. Yeah, any other comments or questions?
I'm just curious, Mr. Toler, what are you proposing, that we don't accept anything and start over from scratch? I mean, what do you?
I would love to see us redo the RFP according to the guidelines set forth in and on the website there at the GFOA, what they recommend.
And do we know that we did not follow that? I
We
mean,
did not follow that.
I'd ask Mr. Lucius McGee, who responded, was the RFP process tainted in any way?
The RFP process was pretty thorough.
But that,
And
hey,
the questions he was
point of-
asking.
Point of order, point of order. We didn't call him to the stand
Okay.
to ask him that question. The question is, did we follow the RFP based off the,
Well, we followed a process that allowed the 4 vendors that we approached to provide their information and do so.
Okay, so
3 of
go-
the 4 vendors did, and they were evaluated by our staff, and our staff made a recommendation. The 4th vendor did not, made a threatening email to me. I responded to him that he had to the end of the day to respond to the RFP, and he did not. So he was excluded from the process. But the other 3 vendors that applied went through the process, was evaluated. We asked additional information from each vendor. They provided it, and we went and did a full evaluation following the GFOA guidelines.
okay? Any other questions?
just wanted to make sure that we'd followed our procedure and did our due diligence. To me, it sounds like we did.
Okay. You call for
Vote on
question?
this committee, though.
Question's been called for?
Online voting is open.
Voting complete?
Yes. Online voting is closed. Motion passes.
Okay. I'll pass the gavel back to you, Madam Chairman.
All right, I think that's it for our Finance Committee. If there's nothing else, meeting adjourned. That was it? I didn't realize y'all pulled beef. I didn't realize y'all pulled beef. I mean, nobody's told us that y'all were pulling beef.
Yeah.
Okay, that happened at